Hey there, Wargamers, and welcome back to another Wargames Delivered video. In this video, we're going to go over how to paint the Stark banners from the A Song of Ice and Fire miniatures game. Let's get started.
And so for this video, I wanted to do something a little bit more subtle on the flag. So we're going to do some lighter colors on the flag, and we're going to start out here with gunmetal for the entirety of the spear that the flag is attached to. And as always with your metallics, you'll want 1 to 2 thin coats of this and try to get as even coverage as you can. Alright, and so once you've got nice even coverage of the gunmetal there, we're going to switch over to our first wash step of the model here, and that is going to be dark tone over the entirety of the gunmetal area that we covered before. And again, we are going to be dry brushing this afterwards, so you can lay this on pretty thick. Just try to make sure you don't have any pooling in any excess areas. Moving on from this step, we're going to switch over to a very quick dry brush step, and with that we're going to switch over to plate mail metal, and we're going to just cover the entire area that we covered before with the past 2 steps, just trying to leave a little bit of that shaded area poking through in some of the spots on the spear here, and just trying to get decent coverage but not 100% perfect coverage here. Having a bit of inconsistent coverage here just kind of adds a little bit of realism to the spear here. It looks like it had seen a little bit of wear and tear before, so that's what we're going for in this step. Once you've got that step finished up there, we're going to switch over to our cleanup phase, which is going to be matte white and uniform gray. We're going to do a little bit of a mixture and try to recreate the base tone that we created with the airbrush earlier. And we're going to just pretty much cover up any mistakes that we made with the metallics or any inconsistencies that we have on the flag here before we hit it with the speed paints. And you will probably need 1 to 2 thin coats to do this. And if you do have a little bit of inconsistency with the color in terms of the matte white here and the gray, just go ahead and just cover the entire area that you were painting, just to keep that area consistent when you apply the speed paint. So the top of the flag here, the back of the flag, I noticed it was a little bit brighter than those areas, so I just covered the entire area. And this really just kind of blends the base coat together before you apply your speed paints. And give that a little bit longer to dry than you normally would with most paints, just because when you apply speed paints, you want to make sure that the area that you're applying them to is 100% dry. So moving on here, we're going to switch into Holy White out of the speed paint line, and we're just going to cover the lowest area of the flag here. So we're looking to get everything except for the wolf insignia and the outer border of the flag. And this will just create a little bit of depth in the shadows and leave us with a nice flat gray tone to work with. And after finishing one side of the flag, be sure to turn it around and hit the other side before moving on to the next stage. And once that's dry, as you can see, it created a nice subtly shaded gray tone for us, so we're going to move on to another cleanup phase on the borders and the wolf insignia here with our matte white and uniform gray mixture, just to kind of reset the palette for us here before we add another speed paint on it. And before you do this step, be sure that the Holy White is 100% dry before you do this step. If you do hit it when it's still wet, it can kind of just smear the Holy White and actually just kind of drag it and get it in more spots where you don't want it. So if you do mess up with your speed paints, just let them dry where they're at, unless you have a damp brush and an actual dry brush handy to wipe those away. Because if it's just a small mistake and it's still wet, you can usually wipe it away with a damp brush and then a dry brush afterwards. But sometimes, you know, some paints dry faster than others, and you kind of have to wait until this step. So that's what this is for here, especially if you're working on a large area like this and you know you're going to make a couple mistakes along the way. Typically what I like to do is just wait and then just take another 5 minutes afterwards and clean up that previous mistake. Once you've got that cleaned up there, we're going to switch over to our final speed paint step here, which is going to be Runic Gray. And if you watched the Stark Sworn Swords tutorial video I posted a couple of weeks ago, you'll know that this is the color that I used on their tabards, so this will tie the models and the flag together very nicely in the unit. And as I've mentioned before in the Lannister Bannerman video, the A Song of Ice and Fire game has a lot of miniatures. Each unit is basically 12 minis, and cavalry is about 4, so you have a lot of minis to work with in this game. So it's really nice to just bust out the speed paints and get through a lot of models quickly. There is absolutely an argument to be made to do a little bit of extra time on the banners. They are going to be kind of sort of the focal point of each unit, so if you do want to go in a little bit more depth and edge highlight here over the speed paints, that's absolutely a valid plan. I just kept it simple and added the speed paints and called it a day on them. So you could go another step further as well. I may do that in a future video, but for now we'll just leave it here. And with these kind of lighter colored speed paints, I kind of like to really use them very thin and build up color later on if I feel like I need to. It's very easy to add more color and darken down certain areas with speed paints, but bringing back the color, lightening them back up is a little bit more difficult. So always keep that in mind when you're working with speed paints. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to check out the top link in the description for the giveaway attached to the video. Our giveaways will now end the following Sunday after the week that the videos have premiered. So on the 19th, all of our giveaways will end. And as always, guys, happy wargaming.